Well, I can tell you that this nightmare begins on January 3rd, 2023. I logged into Instagram late in the evening, just after 9 o'clock, and then I see a post from Lilith saying that she's missing. You're in the place, even though they talk to you and explain, you don't understand what it's like. What happened? What did they do before? I had so many questions because I never imagined that I would have to march, but I did. I raised my voice, and when the contingent of trans girls passed, I approached and shouted with pride that I was the mother of a transgender girl. Lilith is still missing, and I raise my voice, and no one really listens to me. I'm tired of doing everything to look for Lilith. It seems like I'm not doing anything. In fact, sometimes I even feel so helpless because I don't want to be a person. To stay at home doing nothing and waiting for a call from the prosecutor's office, right?
In our nation, instances of disappearance and violence affect all genders and social classes. We often witness tragedies where people lose their loved ones in acts of violence or face stories that challenge our understanding and humanity. But what happens when the beings we love simply disappear without a trace? Well, today we will hear the story of Joana Alvear, a searching mother whose life changed forever after the disappearance of her daughter Lilith. Joana will tell us about her painful journey and the search for answers and justice. Facing obstacles, indifference, and a system that often leaves families in abandonment.
My name is Joana Alvear. I am the mother of Lilith Sauri, a transgender girl. Well, what I can tell you is that Lilith is a person with a very beautiful heart since she was little. It has been very difficult to think because right now I can't find her. Lilith had a childhood. I can say that she was happy being with us. Since she was very little, she felt a great love for the little animals she saw on the street. She was always a very tender person, always, a lot of affection, a lot of love in Lilith to give. She was a very beautiful person. She's a very beautiful person with a very beautiful heart. Her childhood, normal, like all children. What I remember a lot is that at the age of 6, when we were coming from elementary school, if I remember correctly, she asked me a question and said, "Mommy, why didn't God make me a girl?" Then I didn't know what to answer. I actually spoke to her. I asked her if she felt bad. Why was she asking me that? Then we didn't talk about the subject anymore. And so the years went by. However, I felt that Lilith didn't identify as a boy, right? And she always had my support. I never saw it as wrong. I would tell her father, and he would always say that, we should take her to a psychologist, right? But in reality, since she always lived with me, I told her that nothing mattered. And it's not until high school when Lilith talks to me, not until then. And she tells me that she made the decision for me to call her Lilith and that she identifies as a girl. So at that moment, she has all my support. She starts to have all my support. Lilith, I moved to Toluca in the year 2020. And Lilith didn't stay, she didn't want to go with me. She stayed living with her dad. We separated. I told her we could change scenery and that we would be okay, but she said no. That it was far from the city, that she had a lot of things to do. She had many plans. She did cosplay, and it was very important for her to be here. That's important. Her friends, a core group of people that she loved and valued, of friends. Here, and however it may be, there was the family and there was her dad. That's why I didn't leave. I didn't abandon Lilith. I don't abandon her. Lilith, when I left, she was already of age, so she decided to stay around here. If Lily lived, she went to live with her dad, and while with her dad, she decided to go live with her partner. They were living together for about 8 months. So, is she going to live with him? And before they went on a trip, she moved in with her partner. And before they went on a trip, they spent a week at her dad's house. From there, they set off for Puerto Escondido to spend the new year Well, to welcome the new year, the 2023. Lily travels with her partner Karim, his cousin Melissa, and Melissa's boyfriend Carlos. They traveled precisely to spend these New Year's dates and they returned. However, Lily did not return. What I can tell you is that they had a beautiful relationship. I saw Lily happy. I met Karine. I saw her on 3 occasions interacting with her, and I saw that they were very happy, that they got along well. I can say it was a stable relationship, but however, I don't know what happened to me. Lily never talked to me about having any kind of problem. Emma, I saw her happy and I saw her joyful. And I believe that every mother always seeks for her children to be happy. She maintained regular communication with her dad as he was present. And always, the dad knew where she was. And when they decided to live together, there was no impediment because Lydia was of age, but she was in constant communication with me. Sometimes it was distant because when I wanted to see her and travel to the city, she already had commitments and then we couldn't see each other. But in reality, I always tried to be in contact with her even though I was far away. I always wrote to her, encouraging her to please choose a career because time can pass her by. That's what parents do. We're always there, attentive, and that's what I always did for Lilith, even from a distance. Yes, the other 2 boys, Karin's cousin and Melissa and Carlos, I didn't know them. I met them until the day I arrived in Puerto Escondido. And at the prosecutor's office, we met. They were taking their statements and they were with us for 1 day, only in the search because they had to return. I see that through social media. A lot of people send me messages and tell me that they continue with their normal life, that they, in fact, because they do not share the bulletin, it seems like Lilith did not disappear while being with them. And what I can tell you about them is that they lead their life normally. I can tell you that this nightmare began on January 3rd, 2023. I logged into Instagram late at night, just after 9 o'clock, and then I see a post from Lilith saying that she is missing. This post wasn't like the official ones we usually see. That's why I even thought it was a joke, but I see it was posted by a friend of Lilith, who I know, who had been to our house several times when we lived together. And I wrote to him to find out what was going on and, above all, if this was real, and he told me it was. That Lilith was in Puerto Escondido, that she had gone on vacation, and that apparently they had argued and she ran out of the hotel and got lost. But not to worry, as the police and Navy were already searching for her. I still didn't understand how you could lose a person, right? A person, I think you can't lose sight of them. And then she told me to get in touch with Karim. I didn't have Karim's number because I had just changed my cell phone, so she gave it to me, and that's how I got in touch with Karim. That's where I can tell you my nightmare begins. Before this, I called Lilith. She didn't answer. The call went through, the WhatsApp went through, but still there was no response. I also spoke with Lilith's father. I called him. I told him I had just found out. He told me he already knew, but since we didn't end on good terms, he didn't bother to call me and tell me that Lilith had disappeared. He told me that we had to see because Lilith had disappeared in a place where it was open sea, so we had to wait. I told him, you have the resources to travel, and he replied, yes, but I can't right now, I'm sick. Seeing this refusal, what else could I say? What I did was gradually tell my family, my closest family, and tell them what was happening because I still didn't believe it. I get in touch with Karen and she tells me they went after Lilith, but they couldn't catch up with her because she went to the beach and they lost her. So I actually have contact with her, but I keep thinking all the time, what could it have been? What could have happened? Since you're not in the place, even if they talk to you and explain, you don't understand what it's like. What happened? What did they do before? So I had a lot of questions. I was in contact with her, and the next day she sends me the investigator's phone number so I could be in touch with him. So it's not until, with the help of my family and their support, I arrive in Puerto Escondido on January 5th, In the afternoon, I meet my eldest son and his wife at the prosecutor's office in the port. And well, what we were doing is talking to the investigator and finding out what had happened. Before anything else, I had to know the context, what was there. I was attended to there, and the investigator then told me there were 2 lines of investigation. One was that Lily might have drowned being in a port area, and the other was that she was walking under this discussion. So there he tells me about this discussion, so I think there were already 2 people telling me that there had been a discussion. That's why that part intrigued me. And I asked him to please tell me everything they knew, what they had, if they had checked cameras, because, well, one hears the stories of people who disappear, and I think the first thing is to know where their cell phone was, check it, check the cameras. And because here what they told me is that Lilith leaves a hotel where she was staying. This happened around 11 at night, late. So yes, I understand the truth. The beach was very dark when I went, but well, for sure, I didn't know what was going on. So the investigator brings me up to speed. He asks me what my relationship with Lilith is like, if I can tell him. And well, Lilith didn't live with me, and when the interview ends, what he tells me is that, well, Lilith comes from a dysfunctional home. So that's when I'm faced with a situation that I don't like, that hurts me, because I believe it wasn't the important thing to address. At that moment, the importance was to know what they were doing as the prosecutor's office and what he was doing as an investigator. Because it was already the 5th day, almost over, and Lilith had been missing since the night of January 2nd at 11 o'clock at night. So well, the days were passing to be walking around. I thought it wasn't, but well, they told me that Puerto Escondido was a small place. And some people indeed went through situations where they had to be supported. The locals are empathetic, taking them in, calling the prosecutor's office to pick them up. So, well, you feel that everything is being done right and that at any moment that is going to happen with Lily? Once I leave there, what I do is head to the hotel to look for Karen and to find out firsthand. Now what really happened? The first thing I asked her is if they argued, and she said no. So I didn't focus on her. For me, the importance was at that moment that it could take me to where she disappears, walk through those streets, know where she could have gone, because it's an unfamiliar place, and I believe that can offer a new perspective. Well, possibly, I don't know if there was a ravine, if there was something. Did I need to know anything else? We walked in. The beach is 3 blocks away. It's very close to the hotel. Yes, that part is very dark. What also catches my attention a lot is that when you enter, the sea is there. There is a flat area of sand. And it's many meters ahead, so at some point I thought that Lilith may have gone to the sea. And, well, the Navy was looking for her and she told me no. What they told me is that often the bodies, well, they would come out after 10 days, so we had to wait. Of course, the last thing one wants is to find your children in that circumstance, one always. To this day, almost 2 years that I have been looking for my Lilith, I have looked for her, with the hope of finding her alive. I don't know the circumstances or what happened, but there I stayed in Puerto Escondido. I stayed for about a week, a little more. We were posting bulletins. As a family, it was my sister who arrived on the 6th. It was my eldest son and his wife. We were 4 people. Karen got involved with us in the search. The first few days, when her mom arrived, they started looking on their own as she seemed worried, but very quiet. And well, I don't know, I think none of us really knew what to do, but she was very involved at that moment. Yes. At that moment, she even approached people and showed them the bulletin, telling them that if they hadn't seen a person with these characteristics who had tattoos, she would describe them. So she did get involved, but as soon as her mom arrived, well, her attitude changed. In fact, she stopped joining us. What we were trying to do was to form groups and split up so we could look for some people on one side and others on another. There are many beaches around Puerto Escondido, many beaches. There he went and left them at the lifeguard booths. They gave us permission to post the bulletins. We tried to get closer to areas with more people. We went to the terminal, to the only hospital there in Puerto Escondido. We tried to do it in some restaurants as well. And well, we managed to get the word out of the bulletin, which was the most important thing at that moment as the days went by. What really does affect me is this search, and it perhaps bothers me, is the fact that on January 5th, the State Search Commission wrote to me. They sent me WhatsApps telling me who they were and that they had passed on the report and this and that. They wanted to know. They wanted data. But I got scared. I thought it was someone who wanted to extort me because as we made the mistake, well, some people trying to help us made the mistake of making a bulletin with personal numbers. Both my partner and I started receiving extortion calls, so I didn't answer strange numbers. When they sent me this message, what I did was ignore it because I was totally involved in the search. My attention was on the search, so I ignored the message. However, I informed the investigators that I had received a message. And they told me that instead of providing information, I should try to lead the conversation if I choose to reply. The conversation. Well, I'll take that. And then, on the 6th of January at night, I get a message that they have Lilith picked up. A person tells me that they have her picked up. And then I get scared and block the number. I get in touch with my sister and I say, you know what? That they are sending me a message? It was already dawn and I obviously couldn't sleep. My son and his wife still went to the beach and bar area at night to continue posting bulletins and searching. They still left. It was already 2 in the morning, 1:30, when this conversation with this person began. I'm at a loss and don't know what to do, so I wrote to my other sister expressing my confusion. I think I had never felt so much fear as that night. I said I was very scared that they would send me a picture of Lily, that they had her, that they were hurting her. As a mother, you never want anyone to harm your children. So it's something so impressive that my hands were shaking. I didn't know what to do, and my sister told me, look, put everything in God's hands, put your words in God's hands so you can respond. Because if not, well, if they have it, you'll never know. And that's when my strength comes out for the first time. And I said, well, yes, I'm going to have to answer, and I'm going to have to answer her. She told me, think of something you can say to this person, something that only Lilith would know or that gives you proof that they have her. If not, then one more. Because I did receive several messages that they had her, that if I wanted to know where she was, but they asked for discretion. So the investigative agent advised me not to pay attention. I had the conversation with this person and others. They told me that she had been mistaken, that they had her in a safe house. But he gave me 30 seconds to do so. See her, and he deposited money. I told her, look, all day the truth. I gathered courage, and I told her all day they have wanted to extort me. So you have to send me to a test to know that you have it, and well, we continue. No, she never sent me a test. So there I realized that this was going to be an ordeal in this search, that there was going to be opportunistic people. We started asking for the support of family and friends to remove the bulletins that had personal numbers. And so we had to do it to no longer receive these types of calls, which did last several months. But well, people get tired. They were all fake. Yes, some people did come to tell us that they had seen Lilith, a tattooed, skinny girl, and they gave us clues, and we split up to go see them. And we would send the notice to the investigating agent so that they too would be like, we needed the presence of the prosecutor's office. And so these leads were never able to be confirmed. What surprised me was that Puerto Escondido was actually a small place. So the days were passing, and we didn't have any answers. When they asked me to give my statement at the prosecutor's office, it was after they found a body in the sea, some boatmen, and it had the characteristics of Lilith. I asked them what those characteristics were. They told me the clothes she was wearing and apparently tattoos, which could not be confirmed. This because the waves were very strong, but that body had been lost, but that... The Navy was already there looking for it, so, well... It was very difficult for me. Yes, not shocking, I'm being honest with you. Why? Because, well, at that moment I felt that I found my Lilith, although it was not the way I wanted. I said, that's it, it's over, because I didn't feel that I could endure such a long search. To this day, I'm amazed by my own strength. I believe that a mother's love makes you stand up despite all the adversities, negatives, lack of support and resources. I believe that you start to put that aside, because the important thing here is not to give up, keep raising your voice. I appreciate these spaces, that's why I do interviews, that's why I go to the marches. It's important to me. I never imagined going to a women's march. And not because I don't agree with her, yes, but nevertheless, I always kept myself on the sidelines. Lilith did go and march. And one day she was getting ready and I said, hey, where are you going, sweetheart? She tells me I'm going to march, but then things get difficult. Take good care of yourself, sweetheart. Every day there are missing women. Every day there are murdered women. And they don't listen to that, Mom. I'm going to go for those women. And me, how? Do I have Lilith's words recorded? Because I never imagined that I would have to march, but I did. I raised my voice, and when the contingent of trans girls passed, I approached and proudly shouted that I was the mother of a transgender girl. And I left them one of my signs, and they were all the march with signs. Many people in the community learned about Lilith's story, and to this day, I believe they continue to support, share, and spread the word, which I feel is the most important thing. You never know where you might find some clue or some piece of information about what might have happened, or I don't know. So it completely changes your life, really? What I do is stay in touch with the investigator because I ran out of resources and I came back. From my son. Fortunately, he had time to stay, more time, because he stayed until January 26th, but he was touring several. We went to Huatulco from Puerto Escondido, some localities, and from there I returned to my home and he stayed. He posted the final missing persons bulletin in central Oaxaca on January 26th. There, our search ended in terms of dissemination like that, directly. There, when they made me, the search commission also called me on January 7th, and they told me they showed up. They told me that they had passed on Lilith's report, and they wanted to know how they could help, and I told them I would call them back. I confirmed with the agent that it was real, the number existed, and I could provide details. I spoke with another commander who was supporting the people, and she told me it was a government institution, it wasn't them. I tell her I'm scared to give information as they might try to extort me. Then she said, yes, better. How is it possible that they take away that resource from you, right? That later you find out as time goes by that collaborations are made and that it's the Oaxaca State Search Commission who is in charge of conducting field searches. They even do searches by hand. I don't know why they denied me that support at the time. That's what I've had all this time in this search, that annoyance, because you don't know what instances can get involved. It only happens when you start to take action. Now, indeed, all this search and all the information you have, you start to make your own folder, so to speak. And that's when you realize that something so important that was fundamental was denied to you. In the early days when Lilith had disappeared, why? If Lilith had drowned, a sea search would have been conducted by the search commission. So until now, until today, well, no, there's nothing. They asked me to show up at the end of January for a DNA test, which I did, yes, to continue with the protocols. They tell me it's very important to make the comparisons, especially because it's an open sea area, that it might take a while if Lilith drowned and it takes time to recover the bodies. And everything they told me, I really gathered, the resources, the family was there, I did my raffles. Well, to be able to gather and to be able to be there and fulfill, because I think it was important. That's when I leave my DNA sample, they show me a video.
For Mrs. Johanna, it was evident that something in her daughter's friends' stories didn't add up. The stories they shared described behaviors that were not typical of Lilith, which fueled her doubts and suspicions. However, in the eyes of the law, there seemed to be not enough evidence to act, leaving her trapped in helplessness. The question remains inevitable and devastating. How is it possible that 4 friends go on a trip together and only 3 return?
The version I have, in short, the version I have of Karim, Melissa, and Carlos is that Lily had a panic attack. She ran out of the hotel towards the beach, went into a dark area, and there they lost sight of her. So, I thought intently during those initial months, why did Lilith have a panic attack or what triggered it? However, there are so many things that go through your head that you leave behind what was important, like taking or paying attention. But I know Lilith and I'm certain that she doesn't have panic attacks. So when I go to this DNA test and they show me the video, I see that Lilith is walking fast, not running as they describe it. That people told me that Lilith was running very fast, that she was running very fast, and no. She's running with her cell phone, but she's checking her partner's cell phone. She's doing this, she's like looking for something. In fact, it's a dark part, yes. The recordings are from 2 locations in front of the beach where Lilith entered. And so that's why I realized that the screen is on. And I see this guy Carlos comes and puts his arm on Lilith to stop her so she doesn't keep running. But I notice Lilith is very angry, so I then rule out that Lilith was having a panic attack. I can confirm that Lilith was not having a panic attack because I am her mother and I know her well. Lilith was angry probably because of what she found on the cell phone, because Lilith left with her partner's cell phone. Lilith left barefoot. Lilith didn't have any money. So what I think happened is that maybe she found something, well, if we see that she was so angry, maybe infidelity. And that definitely made her leave. What I don't understand here is why this guy Carlos stops her from running, but he makes a move as if he wants to take her phone away. And then Lilith runs towards the beach, and that's when Carlos goes after her, and then Melissa, Karim's cousin. And these 3 people, these 2 people along with Lilith, stay on the beach for 15 minutes. Although Karim claimed he went after Lilith, she does not appear in the video. That's when my questions come in. Why the inconsistencies? What occurred in those 15 minutes? Only Carlos and Melissa came out. And then here, what worried me, and more than anything saddened me, was that Lilith came out barefoot. She departed with her partner's phone, but no money. The investigating officer informed me that she was carrying his cell phone, which no one else had mentioned to me. However, when I interviewed Karen and she took me to the beach area, well, she already had her cell phone there because they found it around 2 in the morning. But no, there was no clue. I told the investigating officer because I knew from what one reads, from what one sees in the news and so on. The thing is, when someone, especially a person, disappears, the most important thing is to check their cell phone. What about the witnesses or those present at the scene? The prosecutor's office did not seize this cell phone. For me, it was very important that they had checked because it could have been known what he did. Lily, 11, vanishes until 2 a.m. when her cell phone is found. And those are the things, and they are part of the inconsistencies that I have always talked about, the ones that were not paid attention to in the prosecutor's office. Knowing Lilith was penniless. How can you move? You're not wearing shoes, you're barefoot, so you're not having a panic attack? Because I saw the video, I see her, and no, she is very upset, she is angry. Karen, Melissa, and Carlos know what really happened. However, due to the video, they are asked to provide an extended statement. And only Carlos shows up and says that he did reach Lilith, but he had forgotten. Melissa says no, that she didn't reach Lilith, she only saw her running, then she stopped and didn't catch up to her. So, to this date, Karine, Lilith's partner, has not shown up for the statement extension. These are things I don't understand. They have not gotten involved. They do not share the search bulletin. They have lived their lives since they returned from that trip in the most normal way possible. It's as if Lilith had not disappeared while being with them. And I start to think that the empathy among friends when you travel, when you go, I believe that if four leave, four return. I believe that among friends, any kind of circumstance can happen, a fight and so on, but you don't leave people, you don't abandon them, you try to do what's possible. If you see Lilith, as they described her, in a panic attack, well, I forcefully grab her and return her. Together, we all bring her back to the hotel. Why are there lies? Why are there different versions? Why is there discrepancy in their statements? That intrigues me a lot. I always go to the prosecutor's office hoping to get an answer. It's hard for me to gather for each trip because I don't have enough resources. And yet this hope fades because I always come back empty-handed. They constantly change staff in the prosecutor's offices. You start over, there's a new MP again. The investigator left Lilith's file in February, a month after Lilith had disappeared. From that point, no one took on the investigation file. So who was going to give me an explanation? And me, what I've been all this time, what I have been trying to do, and what I've been doing is raising my voice. It's talking to them, it's telling them to see that they don't have these inconsistencies. I don't have the power to be able to do this kind of research. What information I have, I can provide them, but it's no use if they don't take it into account. They have the obligation to search and carry out their corresponding investigative acts. And not to give you so many delays, because unfortunately it's a search which is a state matter, a disappearance in another state where you can't be there constantly because I'm not from there. And that has made my search has been good. I feel that even though it has been with a lot of love, sometimes I feel it has been slow, as I haven't been able to travel more often or do as many things. In February of that year, I presented myself at the State Search Commission because I saw that a bulletin about Lilith was circulating from the commission and I did not file the complaint. So I called the State Search Commission and they told me that it was Lilith's father who issued this missing person bulletin under the name of Lilith. It surprised me but made me feel good because her father never accepted her gender identity. So him filing the report under the name of Lilith? Well, I think it meant or means a lot, but it's the only thing he did in this search is he hasn't done anything to look. It has been a search by my family, my partner, and above all, her. I constantly stand because love strengthens us, because our children shouldn't be missing. Lilith just went to spend the New Year. She only did that. Lilith was a girl who took great care of herself, really. She always had her location on, always when she was going to places where she might go out at night, she would talk to her dad or stay at her friend's house. Lilde is a partner, is a person, who is totally committed, is a friend who will always listen to you. No matter when you call her, ask her for some advice in the middle of the night, she will always be there for you. A very beautiful heart since she was 9 years old. She told me, Mom, there's a stray dog that's going to have surgery and I want to give all my money. And I told her not to give the 500 pesos she had saved up because often you don't know who you're giving to. Many profit from small animals. And she said, no, look, come. And then I told her, let's give half of half. We confirmed she was indeed a rescuer. So what does that tell you about a person, about a little girl, about a little person who is 9 years old, and she's worrying about giving everything she has to cure a little dog? So we didn't have pets, but from there they gave her a little dog, a little female dog, and she adopted her little dog. And I told her, I need you to be responsible. Why? Because, well, one always ends up like a mother, and yet there she was, taking care of her little dog with love. Why do I tell this? Because this is a very beautiful part of Lilith. Not everything has to be like this, so much sadness. Lilith is a person who deserves to be sought after. She is being sought after by me, but by those who have to look for her. Those with more power, like the prosecutors, are very slow. The first prosecutor's office, which had the folder, did absolutely nothing. So what I did was continue to raise my voice. I arrived at the State Search Commission in February. Then, in March, I approached the Mexican Association of Stolen and Missing Children. Here in Mexico, They put together a bulletin. They even gave me several pamphlets to take to the newspapers. Do they broadcast? I tried to approach as many instances as I could to continue spreading the fact that the limit was still missing. So you have to be knocking on doors. You start meeting people along the way who tell you what you can do.
In our country, uncertainty, pain, and desperation become a constant for families seeking answers. Facing a system that often seems indifferent or incapable of providing justice. The lady in her search has found support in feminist groups and the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community to make her case more visible in protest and social networks.
It's a very difficult search in itself with a lot of limitations, but I've been really very lucky because this year there's a collective in Oaxaca. It's Oaxaqueños Buscando a los Nuestros, who give visibility to LILIC. They don't do field searches as such, but they give visibility. And also thanks to a friend of a friend, I came across a collective that is Defensoras por la Justicia, who have supported me since then. And I managed to get the folder changed for the state of Oaxaca because I saw that definitely time was passing and the months go by. And this is anguish. It's a very big anguish. The mothers who have our missing children, our lives change. It completely turns around. Our life changes from one moment to another. So it's very difficult. We don't know how to handle emotions at first. We don't know what to do, what to say, what to think. Can I give people who have asked me many stories or versions of what I think happened? The ones who know what happened are Carlos, Melissa, and Karim, but not here. And to this day, well, hasn't the prosecutor's office presented them to give their statements? Their statements? According to the video they show me, so that has been my struggle. That's what keeps me raising my voice. How are you? Why is justice like this in our country? Why don't they listen to us? Why do we become invisible as mothers? Many have said I'm relying on the prosecutor's office to act and won't find Lilith, as I must search for her myself. But with what resources do I search for her? No, the resources are never enough. It's been 1 year and 11 months since Lily went missing, and I don't have answers, and there isn't even a context analysis. There is no hypothesis of what happened behind Lily's disappearance. I had contact with Karim all of January. And at the beginning of February, I write to him and send him a message where I tell him that they showed me a video, and I realized that the three of them lied. That I don't know the reason, that I don't know why, but she knew that Lyric deserved to be sought after, and why didn't she show him that love? Well, I had seen it in them, hadn't I? Because what reasons did they have for not telling the truth about what happened? That I was asking her to please do things right and that I was going to include her in my prayers? From that day on, I lost communication with Karin. She never wrote to me again. I didn't write to her because in reality, I feel that she showed me then. Wasn't it not the real interest? I don't understand what happened. I saw Lilith happy. I don't know what happened between the two of them. Only the people who were there know. What I can say is that she only shared the search bulletin on her networks for 2 months, and from there she did not share it again. These two people, Carlos and Melissa, also did not share. They never shared a bulletin on their walls. Well, let's go on their Facebook. Do you know that Facebook has a lot of reach? I think that right now that is what could help us. Spread, share. And they never showed that interest. Their families never showed interest. There was never empathy. Nobody updated me on the investigation's progress. I don't want their help or money for travel. I wanted them to get involved. What I wanted was to see that they were also worried because Lily disappeared while she was with them. No, I haven't had that this entire time. The National Search Commission has also approached me. In fact, they have been supporting me. And them being a state matter, it's difficult, but nevertheless, they always provide support. So I have approached everything I can approach. I give interviews. I keep telling Lilith's story. Because it's not possible that no one knows what happened, that no one saw her, that no one knew anything. And we were there for many days. I mean, I thought we were gonna get an answer. I thought she would show up at any moment, that it was just going to be a misunderstanding. Yet I still continue even now witnessing the passing days. And you stop counting them because it's something very regrettable, you know? It's not that one runs out of strength, right? But it's tiring for the mind, for the heart, really. But love makes us rise from wherever. I'm tired of the fact that they don't listen to me anymore, not of continuing to look for my Lilith, because, well, I keep looking for her with all my love. I have received support. I also received support when I was there in Puerto Escondido from a guy who is a blogger from the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community. He posted it on his networks. How were they able to search for Lilith using her legal name when she no longer identified with it? Already identified as a girl? So that's when the prosecutor's office decides to issue a bulletin with the name Lilith, because initially it was with her legal name. And yes, we are aware. The State Commission's bulletin says that the gender is a trans woman. That is, we are not deceiving anyone. We know that we are looking for Lilith, yes, but whoever needs to be aware of Lilith's gender identity is. I search for Lilith with all my love, despite facing criticism and a challenging situation. I'm often criticized for seeking a woman they believe I won't find. No, I know I had a son. I mean, I'm aware of that, yes, but we have to see both sides. The duality of Lilith to Sarna, more than anything, I will always accept Lilith with all my love, as she is, as she identified herself, and I will continue to look for her like that. I want to find her alive. My heart wants to find her alive. That's how it is in my prayers. I mean, I believe a lot in God, and I ask God to allow me to find her alive. But honestly, sometimes I say I just saw a TikTok from a man. I don't know if it could be. His name is Eric Carrillo. Did Daddy finally find it? He said he would retire when he found his son. I felt really bad when I saw his video, but do you know what it is? I believe that any mother who has a missing child, the fact that you find them in those circumstances, then the agony ends, because that's how we live, with our souls hanging by a thread, and there, at that moment, is when everything ends. Oh, I want to find Lilith alive because I love her, of course I do, because my search has been with all my love, because I miss her voice, because I want to see her again, because I can't wrap my head around the idea that I will never see Lilith again. And no. I mean, it's really not fair that people go on living as if nothing happened, that they carry on with their lives as if nothing happened. And Lilith is still missing, and I raise my voice and no one listens to me, really. I mean, I'm tired of doing everything to look for Lilith. And it seems like I'm doing nothing. In fact, sometimes I even feel so helpless because I don't want to be a person who stays at home doing nothing and waiting for a call from the prosecutor's office, right? I'm going to do everything within my power. I'm going to keep searching with all my love and all my faith. But I'm not the only one. Many of us live in the same situation. Prosecutors do not support. Are we invisible? Staff changes constantly, forcing us to start over. It's not possible. New disappearance cases arrive, and they focus on those cases. It's okay, as I empathize with you. But I would have liked it if they had searched for Lily like that, with that emphasis, with that... I don't know what word to use, but I would have liked them to show the same when Lilith disappears. And there was a lot of denial. It seems to me that they tripped me up, and it was important in the first days and months to know what Lilith had done. I still ask myself to this day. And I don't understand why they haven't had that. They don't experience the anguish as I do, and they told me they must move on with their lives. Yes, of course, me too, but Lilith disappeared while with them, and that is not being taken into account and is being set aside. And that actually, it really upsets me a lot. If Lilith really likes anime, Lilith, within her life plans, Lilith was to set up a shelter for puppies to be able to help them, Lilith wanted. Who is traveling to Japan? Lilith took a Korean course. She liked baking. Lilith did cosplay. She really liked anime. I don't understand any of that, but Lilith would talk to me and say, "Look, Mom, watch this series. Look, Mom." And then I would go and watch it. Sometimes she even told me over the phone. She sent me an application where we could watch a movie at the same time, even though she was over there. And her tattoos? Most of the tattoos she has are of anime. She has 15 tattoos. They are very important. The first search bulletin they made didn't talk about the tattoos. Well, they said there were, but I really feel that the photos are important. That's why I provided them with a photo of each tattoo, the part of the body. Because you know that to identify a person, even if they had drowned, well, and time will pass, well, tattoos are a fundamental part. What I remember a lot when I saw Lilith's bulletin, and I want to comment on it because I once spoke with Lilith and told her to take good care of herself. Because I would go on Facebook and see many news about many missing girls, and it was a very great sadness. And well, I am very empathetic, and the truth is seeing so many missing. There came a time when I no longer wanted to go on Facebook because I said it's regrettable. More and more people are disappearing, and it's very sad. And you hear all the stories and you say, what world are we living in? And I told her to take good care of herself. I remembered a lot when Devani's video started to circulate and you see the girl walking with her little sweater in her hand. The anguish she felt that night, what she could have gone through, being there alone and so on. And then having to watch a video where I see Lilith and it's the only thing I have. And the last memory is, it's distressing. Everything. What I can contribute to the prosecutor's office, everything I can, with what I can help. Let's go. In March of this year, Karim sought me out. She sent me a message where she told me that if we could meet, that she was going to bring a lawyer from her family because there were many misunderstandings. I didn't answer that message because, well, I thought to myself, if there are many misunderstandings, if you want to talk to me, it's better to give your expanded statement to the prosecutor's office, I thought. However, I didn't answer that message, and the next day he called me, spoke with me, and told me that he was very sorry, but things were getting out of control. I mean, because many of Lilith's friends started telling me that indeed they started saying that they were not being honest. And they started to get lost. Among friends, they stopped talking and everything. Yes, but what if you realize they're lying about a disappearance? Well, I believe that everyone creates their own story and everyone makes their own decisions. So I think that's what it referred to, and I told her to go honest and to go give her statement expansion. That's what I asked her to do. I think she owed it to Lilith, because if the situation had been different and she was the one missing, Lilith would still be searching. That's what I told her. She eventually showed up either the next day or a few days later. I can't recall precisely. She told me the MP wasn't there, so she left. Later, when I spoke to the MP, he told me no, that she only showed up to have access to the file. She never intended to present her expanded statement at any point. So I am very disappointed. I am very disappointed because I believed in Karim because of what they told me. When they saw me there at the prosecutor's office, you arrive with a lot of anguish, a lot of sadness, but you bring a giant adrenaline rush, don't you? To be able to find your son, to your daughter. And I keep raising my voice because I see that we are not going to have the support from all of them. So we never had it then. I believe and trust in this prosecutor's office here in Oaxaca that they will carry out the corresponding investigative actions to give us, the family, a bit of peace. Because the fact of asking and no, we have nothing, it's... No, I mean, I don't have a word. Let's go for what it feels like. The fact that they tell you, yes, well, everything remains the same. And so the months go by and it's regrettable that we live this on a daily basis, really? Well, then how is it? At first, we were all very dismayed. I can tell you that at first, many people in the family cried a lot. because we had never faced this before. Such a difficult situation of having a missing person in the family. I have my parents alive, which I am very grateful for. Really, I am very grateful because I can take refuge in them. Because when this happens to you, you want to run into the arms of your mom, your dad. Do you realize how valuable they are? I would like to find Lilith to tell her, oh, I've looked for you. I've done everything to find you. So when I know my parents are calling me, I talk to them and that they embrace my heart. I'm grateful to have my parents. Yes, my cousins have been there. Longtime friends I have, they've been there. These situations show you who's with you. There are people who came at first and then they don't talk to you anymore. But it also doesn't matter, you know? I'm grateful. I appreciate what they gave me at the time, the people who were with me at the time and those who are not with me. Because many times they help me by sharing, many times they help me by buying raffle tickets, many times they help me gather resources if I need them, and that is greatly appreciated. But there are really people who... Sometimes I would send them a message to offer them a Rika ticket, and they would leave me on read. And that at first hurt me a lot. And two, because I would say, I'm not asking for more than to continue gathering the resource. It's hard to be all the time with the same thing and gathering and selling and offering, but I have no other way. This experience has shown me that many people are no longer in my life, but that's also very good. Why? Because they were there when I needed them, and that's enough. If Lilith's dad isn't going to look for her, even though he has the resources, well, I'm going to keep looking for her. Why? Because I'm very interested in finding Lilith. I care, I miss her, I want to hug her again, I love her. So my search will continue. I will continue my search with unwavering love and faith.
Today, Johanna continues to search for her daughter using her own resources and demanding justice and process from the authorities involved in her daughter's case. Her tireless struggle reflects the deep love of a mother and the desperation of those who face it. The indifference and inefficiency of the authorities. Remember that these videos come out on Mondays. And if you have any missing family member or want your case to be heard that you have experienced some injustice, you can send me a mail, which is mail@pepemysterycom.mx, or if not, you can write to me on Instagram where you can find me as PepeMysteryMX. Or if not, send me an inbox through TikTok or Facebook, which is Pepe Mystery.